The first up on this list is Garden Dice.
Designed by Doug Bass, or Bass, however you want to say it. Artist Josh Cappel and published by Meridae Games.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I don't have the box in front of me, but...
No, that's it. I was just questioning the way I said it.
Oh, gotcha.
No, I know that's who published it.
I always do that Bass Bass thing as well.
Yeah.
You're like, I wish they would have said their name before I said this. But Garden Dice is a small little game. You have a basically board in the middle of the table with the score track around it, and you have a 6x6 grid of dirt that represents the garden. Each player is going to roll 4 dice on their turn, and they're going to spin these dice for various actions. Basically, you spin the die to buy a seed. You can spend 2 dice to put them out, or to put the seed out on the board. You know, like if you spend a 2 and a 3, you're going to put it in the 2 and 3 coordinates on the board, or the 3 and 2 coordinates. You can also spin a die to water your plant or your seeds to turn it into a plant, which you flip it over. And you can spin seeds to harvest your plants to bring them in front of you, which you keep for set collection at the end of the game. It also gives you experience. It gives you victory points when you water plants as well. Now, some of the strategy comes in by what's called chaining. So when you water plants or you harvest plants, you're going to chain. So like, for instance, if you wanted to build, I don't remember the numbers, I apologize, but say you wanted to build a tomato and it was the number 3, right? Because there's 5 plants out there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. If you want to buy the seed for number 3, you spend a die that's 3 or higher. You get that seed in front of you. You can then spend the 2 and 3, like I said, to plant it. And then you could spend a 3 or higher, since the seed is a 3, to water it. Whenever a plant is, or a seed is watered, it's going to chain all the ones adjacent to it orthogonally, whatever, up, down, left, right. And if it's low, or if it's less than the value of the one you're watering. So if you water a 4, anything that's a 3 or lower beside it is going to get watered as well. You don't get any bonus from that, but if you harvest, you do the same chaining method, and you get a bonus point for every other plant that gets harvested during that chain.
That's not yours.
That's not yours, right? Some of the other things are you've got some special tiles. You can put one out that's like an hourglass that gives you some dice mitigations with your values. You have a scarecrow that will protect the seeds that are around it, the plants that are around it, I believe, and then you can flip it, and then it'll also give you +3 points for the plants that are yours that you harvest that's adjacent to it. When you're adjacent to that, it's actually all directions. There are the animal token, which you put out. One of them, it's a rabbit, or what's the first? The bird.
The bird, yeah.
The bird can run around and eat players' seeds. Then the rabbit, which is the other side of the token, can run around and eat people's vegetables. Lastly, there are some bonus spaces on the board that you can get double the bonus points for whatever the seed is, and otherwise you just keep playing until all the stacks of seeds are gone, and then the game will end. I don't remember if you get an even amount of turns or not. I think so. It doesn't really matter. But then when the game ends, you get some bonus points for having sets of, or like 3 or more of a seed or a vegetable, and you get bonus points. There's like a sun token that you can spend to like reroll all your dice, or to change one die to a value of what you want. But it's worth 5 points at the end of the game if you keep it, and it's only a single use thing. Anyway, that's pretty much the game. You're basically rolling 4 dice, spending it on a ton of actions until you've spent all 4 of your dice, which you must spend them all. You can't just pass. So it does force you into maybe placing a plant somewhere you didn't want it to go, like some seeds or whatever. And, otherwise you just pass the dice to the next player and they take the turn. Eric, what did you think about this? Actually, you know what, Matt, have you watched the video on this one?
Yes.
What's your initial impressions just from the video?
How bad is the AP on this?
Oh, you would think is
with the chaining
decently
and
bad,
stuff.
but nah, the chaining, you kind of do your own thing, and it's easy to see what's going to chain off that.
That's cool. When I was first watching the video, I was kind of like, I could see AP being a problem.
I thought it was going to be like that too.
Yeah, and then I was kind of bummed out because it seemed like anything you did was going to help everybody else, but I think you do get points when you do help somebody. So I was like, okay, at least you get a little something.
Yeah, not with watering, but you do get a benefit for harvesting.
Yeah, and
I think most of the time we watered, then harvest almost immediately.
Yeah.
So I mean, it didn't really matter.
Right.
But
and so and I guess that's pretty much it to the game. I guess is the critters a little annoying, or were they too big of a deal? Or
the critters could be a little mean because obviously you're going in there and eating seed or eating vegetables, and that's kind of your opponent's plan to harvest that.
Right.
So that is a little bit of a meaner aspect to it, but there is actually a variant, like a family variant. You take those out.
Gotcha. But I mean,
they weren't too bad.
Okay, and
which we didn't use them a lot, but I could see in a lot of games they could be heavily used.
Right, but even at that, I did see that there was a way to remove them, so it wasn't that big of a deal.
Just to talk about that before we move on, you can remove them, but you almost want to end up removing your own, because every time you eat seeds or eat a vegetable, you put one of your tokens on there, and so you can't buy any more seeds when those tokens are gone.
Right, because they're finite or whatever.
Right. So you only have, like, I think 5 or 6 of them or so, and you don't want to have them all tied up on your animal.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I mean, I guess that was pretty much the only concerns I had about the game. It doesn't seem like they're that big of a deal. So I mean, I guess it could be fun. It's fairly short, I'm assuming, or
hour, 45 minutes,
45 minutes
like
to an hour
okay.
with 4 players.
So not too bad of a playtime. So I mean, it looks interesting.
And then also going back on eating someone's seed or vegetable, you do have to use your action points to do it. It doesn't really benefit you a lot to do it. It just is a way to maybe slow someone down.
Right.
Or divide them up.
Out of everything, that's probably the only thing I didn't like. Like, I like the fact that it's in there, but if no one really cares and they're not doing anything, then it's up for you to waste your actions to stop somebody from gathering like 30 points in a turn.
Right.
Because if you break their chain, they got like 4 things in a row or whatever. If you break that, then they got to spend way more actions to actually get those points out of it. You don't stop their points. Like, you don't ever, like, other than when you eat that one vegetable, you don't take any victory points away from them. They're going to still score the full amount for everything else, over more turns.
You take whatever you got. If you took a 5, you cost them 5 points eventually. Well,
you stop them from being able to get that 5 points, but you don't, like, retract it or anything.
You don't retract it, right.
Yeah.
But, yeah, sometimes, there's 2 time spots. So it is pretty beneficial to maybe go and eat a 5 that's on a 2 time spot, because you're going to get 10 points from it.
Right. Yeah. So my point is, it's annoying to that player, but it's not the end of the world. The problem is it's like, unless any of the other players are taking their time to also join in and stop that stuff, you feel like you're wasting your game, your turns to do all this, to damage control, so that you can't, so you can possibly come in first without being destroyed by somebody who's got a really good setup.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it was that big of a deal, but it just seems like, I was like, guys, where's your animals? Like, I've got mine out here and he's doing stuff. And then Eric brought his out in retaliation to me.
Right.
But no one else really summoned them. We're going to say summoned.
Yeah.
So my point is, like, I feel like it's definitely something that people need to be aware of, that it is part of the strategy. You're not being mean, but also I guess maybe some of the strategy is letting other people to waste their actions doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's not a big deal. I don't feel like it was a make or break it kind of thing. And honestly, if I took them out completely, it probably wouldn't be a big deal unless I played this 10 or 15 times.
Yeah. I would say if your first time, leave them out.
Right.
Yeah, I would say so too. There's no reason to worry about needing to do that. You're better off just learning the chaining portion of it, because that can be really, really powerful for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I would say also there's that sundial. That's like a given. You want to get that out pretty early, because that's a way for you to mitigate the dice.
Yeah, and all it does is give you like 2 pips that you can do. You can either take 1 die and add or subtract the value. Take a 4, make it a 5 or a 3.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can put both points on it, I guess. Can't you? Yeah,
you can.
So you can turn the 4 to a 6, which is pretty important, because you don't really need 6s for the seeds, but you need it for everything else, like to put one of the special things into, maybe not to put those into play, but to remove them and flip them.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool. And I like how simple the game is. I mean, you like we were talking there, the AP isn't as bad as you think it was.
No.
Maybe everyone was just on their game at this point.
Right.
Because it was the first game we played, so everybody's minds were fresh.
Right.
But rolling 4 dice, you do have tons of options. But
Yeah.
I think I've seen some of the videos that you may have watched, and I feel like it was a little bit exaggerated. It's not like you have 50 million options with 4 dice.
No.
I wasn't going
usually
off
a lot of the spots are even taken anyway.
Yeah, no, I wasn't really going off of what people said. I just knew with the chaining.
Oh, I
'Cause
see.
if you're constantly worried, you probably just eventually just like, I'm going to help people. It's going to happen. I just play my own game and do my thing.
Yeah, you get full value for your vegetables as they get harvested through a chain, but they get 1 point because of it.
Right.
So I mean, it's a trade-off. If they're watering and harvesting your 4s and 5s, that's awesome. Or not your 5s, but your 3s and 4s.
Yeah.
So, or maybe even your 1s. That's cool too, because you can just plant the seed and be like, I'll get that point eventually. But at the end of the game, you need 1 of each for a set, and then you get points for having 3 or more of each kind.
Right.
So it's worth trying to go for every type of seed just for the in-game scoring.
It was funny that whenever I did watch Game Boy Geek's video, and I was like, Dice Tower. So,
because it's so long ago.
It kind of let me know. I didn't realize this game was that old. I thought it was a fairly new game. So,
yeah. What year was it? 2015?
14, maybe something like that. Yeah.
We call those games now.
Yeah.
Right. Cult of the New.
Yeah.
I actually found this at half price for a pretty decent price. I think it was $20, and I used a coupon, so I got it for 14 or something.
Gotcha.
Crazy cheap.
Not bad.
And I bought the expansion, which we chose not to play with the first time, which is a deck of cards, and it kind of adds events and things like that. It seems to me like the deck actually adds a little bit more mitigation.
Yeah.
Which it could be a toss-up. If we did have a lot of APs or having a lot of problems getting things to work, the deck could probably alleviate that. But I felt like it went pretty well. Like I didn't find like I was just rolling terribly to where I couldn't do anything.
Nah, you don't usually get to that point anyway. You have some dice you're like, I don't really have anything to do with it, but you can find something.
Yeah.
If you have a critter out there, you can move it. But you do have to spend all your dice.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Overall, though, Eric, what did you think? Is there anything else you want to talk about with it?
No, I liked it quite a bit.
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit, too. If it wasn't 4 players, and it's no hard thing against it, but if it wasn't 4 players, I felt like I'd want to play this a lot more.
Yeah, it'll be easier to get to our table anyway.
Yeah, because we get 5 players quite often. And with 4 players, it's like we have a line of games waiting to be played.
Whenever it gets down to 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we got 4 this weekend. So, but overall, like, I really enjoyed it. It wasn't super deep or hard, but at the same time, there's a lot of choices to be made.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think it's simple enough where you could get your family in there, but complex enough, I guess, and enough game there where gamers would enjoy it as well.
Right.
yeah, it's like a light to medium
Yeah.
strategy level. Well, rule set is pretty simple though.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it. I guess it's gone. Like I don't see it on sites or anything like that anymore. So I don't know how hard it's going to be to obtain, but it looks like it was in some of the marketplaces online. Maybe they'll do another printing. Who knows? But
I think someone at Lexicon was selling their copy, so it's still out there.
yeah, it's just like not one that I didn't check Amazon because I usually try not to buy games from there, but just to know that they're legit. Anyway, final thoughts?
No,
or at
I
least
liked
on
it.
with Eric.
If I had it, I'll keep it.
Yeah, I'm keeping mine for sure. Anyway, that's Garden Dice.